Ladies and gentlemen, Liberation Day has come and gone, and it was exactly what we all thought. Tariffs, tariffs, and more tariffs. We're tariffing islands that don't even have a population on it. We're tariffing islands that only have a US military base on it. We are tariffing everyone, and it's going to be great, so I'm told. So we're going to go over first, we're gonna start with all of the tariffs on like the main ones of focus on our largest trading partners. We're gonna go over them, and then we're gonna go over the big chart that has like all 180 countries or whatever on it, and then at the end, a little bit of hope. Some of the Republicans are defecting and rebuking some of these tariffs, mainly Canada. So let's get into it. First article from the BBC: Trump's tariffs on China, EU, and more at a glance. U.S. President Donald Trump announced a sweeping new set of tariffs on Wednesday, arguing that they would allow the United States to economically flourish. These new import taxes, excuse me, which Trump imposed via executive order, are expected to send economic shockwaves around the world. But the U.S. president believes that they are necessary to address trading imbalances and to protect American jobs and manufacturing. Here are the basic elements of the plan. Now, your prices are going to go up if all of these tariffs remain in effect. We've seen Asian countries, typically adversaries such as China, South Korea, and Japan, basically forming a little group to say, hey, we're going to get together and we're going to tell the U.S. to go screw themselves and collaborate on the tariffs and our response to them. And then obviously the European Union, they are going to be hitting back hard too. There was a speech from them the other day. But anyways, so the 10% baseline tariffs. In a background call before Trump's speech, a senior White House official told reporters that the president would impose a baseline tariff on all imports into the U.S. That rate is set at 10% and will go into effect on the 5th of April. It is companies that bring the foreign goods into the U.S. that have to pay a tax to the government, although they could have knock-on effects to consumers. Some countries will only face the base rate. These include the United Kingdom, Singapore, Brazil, Australia, New Zealand, Turkey, Colombia, Argentina, El Salvador, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia. Custom tariffs for the worst offenders. White House officials also said that they would impose what they described as specific reciprocal tariffs on roughly 60 of the worst offenders. These will go into effect on the 9th of April. Trump's officials say these countries charge higher tariffs on U.S. goods, impose non-tariff barriers to U.S. trade, or have otherwise acted in ways that they feel undermine American economic goals. Key trading partners subject to these customized tariff rates include the European Union, 20%, China, 54%, Vietnam, 46%, Thailand, 36%, Japan, 24%, Cambodia, 49%, South Africa, 30%, Taiwan, 32%. No additional tariffs on Canada and Mexico. The 10% baseline rate does not apply to Canada and Mexico, since they have already been targeted during Trump's presidency. The White House said it would deal with both countries using a framework set out in Trump's previous executive orders, which imposed tariffs on both countries as a part of the administration's efforts to address the entry of fentanyl to the U.S. and border issues. The fentanyl coming from Canada is almost non-existent. Granted, there is a lot of fentanyl coming from Mexico, but like, I don't know what in his mind thinks that tariffs are going to solve the problem. These countries are already taking additional steps to clamp down on that. Even by your own data and your own admission, fentanyl coming over has decreased dramatically. But yet you're still doing this. And it's just so dumb. It's so dumb. He's a man-child. He does not know what he's doing. 25% tariffs on car imports. In addition, the president confirmed the beginning of a new American 25% tariff on all foreign-made automobiles. This tariff went into effect almost immediately at midnight local time. So let's look here at the full list from NBC. And I just want to say something real quick. I don't have a problem with tariffs when they aren't... okay, I'm not against tariffs. I'm against stupid tariffs. And these are stupid tariffs. Okay? I'm against tariffs that are applied strategically and with like an actual plan behind them to bring back said manufacturing. You don't just put a tariff on something and then a factory grows overnight and all of a sudden we're pumping out, whatever said product that we're tariffing is. And, you know, it's also hard to do manufacturing when you're not only you're not only putting a tariff on the product, you're putting a tariff on, since you're just doing broad, brainless tariffs, you're also putting tariffs on the materials to build products. There's some materials that we just can't get in the US and we have to import them. Or they're just things that we don't have the capacity to make yet. Maybe if you freaking set up some kind of plan, like you have to incentivize production. You don't just put a tariff and everything pops up overnight, okay? This should be strategic, targeted, and planned, which none of this was. These are just broad tariffs that make no sense. For example, he's putting tariffs on the car parts so even though, let's say you're making an American-made car. Well, like 80% of the parts have to be still imported. And he put tariffs on those parts too, meaning that your American-made cars, they aren't going to get cheaper. They're actually going to get more expensive. Oh my goodness. I just can't. President Donald Trump on Wednesday laid out the U.S. reciprocal tariff rates that more than 180 countries and territories, including the European Union members, will face under his sweeping new trade policy. Trump and the White House shared a series of charts on social media detailing the tariffs rates, and they say other countries impose on the U.S. those purported rates, including the country's currency manipulation and trade barriers. An adjacent column shows the U.S. tariff rates on each country, as well as the European Union. Those rates are in most cases roughly half of what the Trump administration claims each country has charged the U.S. By the way, and you can, as I just mentioned in the fine print, some of these tariffs that they're like claiming that we're being charged, they're not even tariffs, okay? Like, this guy has no idea what he's doing. Like, no idea. I can't. The White House told CNBC's Eamon Javers. Oh, look at that. Breaking news. Dow futures tumble 1,200 points on fear of Trump's tariffs will spark trade war. That just popped up. Nice little breaking news drop for you. Anyways, the White House told CNBC's Eamon Javers on Wednesday that the new reciprocal rate on China will be added to existing tariffs totaling 20%, meaning the true tariff rate on Beijing under this Trump term is 54%. Trump said his plan will set a 10% baseline tariff across the board. But as his charts make clear, many countries are set to face significantly higher rates. We will charge them approximately half of what they are and have been charging us, Trump said in an announcement in the Rose Garden at the White House. So the tariffs will not be a full reciprocal. Oh, how generous and smart of you, sir. But that halved figure includes the combination rate of all the tariffs, non-monetary barriers, and other forms of cheating, he said. All right. So top is China. Second, we have European Union. I guess, is this, what kind of order is this in? I don't know what order this is in, but I'm not going to read everyone. I'm just going to kind of slowly go through this. May pause the video at any time, take a gander. A lot of tariffs. And, oh my goodness. Crazy amount of tariffs. Like, talk like this, there is a concern that there's going to be a trade war. Like, there shouldn't be concern. Like, there is a trade war. Like, it is here. It is happening. And unless Trump backs off, it's going to be devastating. And the thing is, like he's done in the past, over the past few months, he'll like put tariffs and then he'll back off, and then he'll put tariffs and he'll back off. Like, even just doing that in of itself is devastating to a lot of companies impacted. They don't know how to plan. They don't know what to do because they don't know what to expect. Because you'll put tariffs, then you'll remove them. And then you'll put tariffs and then you'll remove them. And then you'll threaten, and then you won't. And then you'll put them on. Like, this is causing chaos for these companies that are affected and our allies. Like, we are just making ourselves look like bumbling idiots. Like, I don't know what to tell you, but there are a couple of countries that were conveniently absent from this list, and that was Russia and Belarus. They didn't get any tariffs. So there's more ammunition for Trump being a Russian puppet, which if you think that he doesn't have ties with Russia at this point, then I have an NFT to sell you. Yeah, so I believe the reason why he didn't put anything on Russia or Belarus, according to them, was because we already have sanctions on them. But you can put sanctions and tariffs, they're different. And he also put tariffs on Venezuela, which we have also sanctioned. So immediately his reasoning makes no sense. Anywho, let's read about this. I have a few things to say about this, and then I'll stop yapping. So, from The Guardian, Republicans joined Democrats in Senate vote to rescind Trump's Canada tariffs. Now, as we know, there were no additional tariffs placed on Canada, so these are the ones that he had put into place previously. I don't even know what our Canada tariffs look like right now, to be honest, because of how many times he's threatened, put them on, taken them off, etc. So, honestly, I am ignorant on that, but I am good with any bill that rescinds tariffs on our Canadian brothers. Canadians, I'm so sorry that we're like this. Several Republican senators joined Democrats to pass a resolution that would block Donald Trump's tariffs on Canada, a rare rebuke of the president's trade policy just hours after he announced plans for sweeping import taxes on some of the country's largest trading partners. In a 51-48 vote for Republicans, Susan Collins of Maine, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, and both Kentucky senators, the former Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and Ron Paul, defied Trump's pressure campaign and supported the measure. Democrats used a procedural maneuver to force a vote on the resolution, which would terminate the national emergency on fentanyl Trump is using to justify tariffs on Canada. That is great. I'm going to insert my opinion right now. Why not? Why don't we do the same for like 90% of these tariffs that he's put on? Like, sure, with the just range of tariffs, there are ones I'm sure that make sense and they can stay, just like in his first term, the ones that Biden kept in place. But for like 90 to 95% of these freaking tariffs, like, they gotta go. Like, I just don't know how you can be an elected official and just be so complacent in the obvious crashing of our economy. Like, oh, geez. When Trump's sweeping, did I read that? With Trump's sweeping new tariffs introduced in a White House Rose Garden ceremony on Wednesday, did not include additional levies on Canada. The Senate vote, amongst a significant bipartisan condemnation of the president's escalating global trade war with allies and enemies alike. Congress, you really you just gotta step up. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Tariffs will hurt our families. Canada is not an enemy, the Democratic Senator Tim Kaine, the bill's sponsor, said in a floor speech on Wednesday. Let's not label an ally as an enemy. Let's not impose punishing costs on American families at a time they can't afford it. Let's not hurt American small businesses. Let's not make our national security investments in ships and subs more expensive. And for the first time in my life, I am agreeing with something Tim Kaine is saying. So that's wonderful. Republicans have expressed varying degrees of unease over Trump's clampdown on free trade, once a pillar of conservative orthodoxy, but few were willing to cross him, and many GOP leaders and supporters, including the House Speaker Mike Johnson, were in the Rose Garden on Wednesday, a day dubbed Liberation Day by the president, a way of championing the historic barrage of tariffs on goods from overseas he believes will boost American manufacturing. We're talking about like the level of tariffs we had in like the early 90s, late 90s, like, I'm sorry, but like the world trade, global trade, it's a little bit different now. And you maybe going back to how things were back then, like 100 years ago, maybe that's not the smartest idea. Like, that's like saying we should apply the same social values we had 100 years ago. Like, we should hate black people, segregation, women shouldn't vote, whatever. I mean, let's be real, they probably want this. But yeah, times are different now, as is a lot of things. You can't just expect to do 1800 style tariffs and expect it to work. Like, what are we talking about? Before the vote, the Senate Majority Leader John Thune of South Dakota urged Republicans to oppose the resolution, arguing that the tariffs were needed to ensure that President Trump's tools has the tools to combat the flow of fentanyl from all directions. Yes, all that fentanyl coming from Canada. Not that it matters. Tariffs aren't a way to fight fentanyl. Like, the Canadian government has already upped their efforts. The same with the Mexican government. In a post to his social media platform True Social sent from 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday, Trump assailed the four GOP senators who had expressed opposition to his tariffs, imploring them to get on the Republican bandwagon for a change and fight the Democrats' wild and flagrant push to not penalize Canada for the sale into our country of large amounts of fentanyl. Dude, this guy's such an idiot, bro. He vowed not to sign the measure if it reached his desk, of course. Defending her vote, Collins said that the tariffs would hurt working families in her state of Maine, which shares a long border with Canada. The price hikes that will happen for Maine families. Every time they go to the grocery store, they fill their gas tank, they fill their heating oil tank. If these tariffs go into effect, will be so harmful, she said in a Wednesday floor speech, and as price hikes always do, they will hurt those the most who can afford them the least. She has also argued that fentanyl from Canada was not a major threat to the U.S. as Trump's national emergency claims. The fact that the vast majority of fentanyl in America comes from the southern border, she said. And again, that doesn't mean you tariff Mexico. That's not the solution. Democrats argued that Americans were turning against Trump's agenda, pointing to a string of strong performances by their party in recent special elections that included a consequential victory in a Wisconsin state Supreme Court race on Tuesday night. The American people are now seeing how bad Trump is. The Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said in a floor speech, tariffs is a good part of it, and they are not supporting people like Elon Musk and those who support Donald Trump. Yeah, Chuck Schumer. Yeah, be so happy. Pat yourself in the back for doing absolutely nothing, you freaking hack. Oh my goodness. Same with Hakeem Jeffries. Both of you. Ugh. Like, if the Democrats could fight even half as hard as Republicans do, just in the political sphere, like, this country would be like 80% blue. Like, honest to God. Republicans can't keep ducking this. It's time they show whether they support the economic pain Trump is inflicting on their constituents, he wrote on X. So, there you have it. There's a very brief overview of the tariffs. Yeah. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and I will see you in the next one. If you made it to this point in the video, I just want to give a special thank you. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button down below, and if you really enjoyed it, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button while you're down there. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. I will try to reply to any and all comments that I can. Until next time, watch that video on screen.